All right, good morning, everybody. It is now 9 o'clock, and I'm calling to order the Public Works meeting of November 5th, 2024. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chair Garcia,
Here.
Vice Chair Ozog, Member Cahill, Member Desart. Here. Member Galassi. Here. Member Zay.
Here.
We got a quorum. Chairman, women's remark. I don't really have any for today. Is there any public comment for today?
No.
No, okay. Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes of 24-2917 as the Public Works Committee meetings of regular meeting for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions on these? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I make a motion to approve the claims report 24-2918, payment of claims, Public Works and Facilities Management. I made the motion, you're seconding?
Oh, second.
That's okay. Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Okay. Moving on to consent items. I make a motion to approve 24-2919 Wold Architects and Engineering contract extension to November 30th, 2025 to provide on-call professional architectural engineering services for facilities management. Motion is second. Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Make a motion to approve 24-2920 Robinson Engineering contract is being extended to November 30th, 2024 to pay the final invoice for tank evaluation for Public Works contract extension with no change in contract total. I mean, the motion is, can I get a second? Second, did you second? Okay, I'm sorry. We got a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve 24-2921 Joseph J. Henderson and Sons contract time extension to June 30th, 2025 due to outstanding disputes between Joseph J. Henderson and Sons and a subcontract.
Second.
A motion is second. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to other professional services, I make a motion to approve PWP 002824 recommendations for the approval of funding to Kaminer Lower Law LLC for professional legal services to assist the DuPage County Department of Public Works with Lake Michigan water allocation for unincorporated Itasca as needed for the period of November 12th, 2024 through November 30th, 2026 for an amount not to exceed $65,000. Motion second. And you've got a question, Member Zay?
I do. Nick, can you explain this a little bit? I mean, do we have an allocation from DNR?
So we've got an allocation on all of our other systems, but one system, our NERF, our Northeast Regional Water Facility up near Itasca. That is still on well water. That's the only one. It didn't pan out financially to do it. So if you recall, just recently in the past year, we had to do a repair. We had to take the tower down to paint it, regular maintenance. And we've always had an interconnect agreement with Itasca. When we take that system down, we go Lake Michigan. Well, that's been in place for 25 years. All of a sudden, lo and behold, the IDNR said, wait a minute, you have to get an allocation for that emergency connection. And that was one where I think we talked, I met with
Seems
Paul May.
weird that
And
give
so
DuPage County an allocation, you would get an allocation for
you,
DuPage County, not for
well,
each system.
you would think. So that's why we've got, so that brought to light, hey, we have a problem here because in the future, if something happens with our system, we could be left without being able to service the residents. So what we did is we actually hired the law firm, worked with the state's attorney. We hired the law firm who did all of the recent allocation hearings for your new customers going out west. So they're the kind of the experts of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to move forward, go ahead and get Lake Michigan allocation for this system. And it can be basically put on hold. So we have it permanent and we can either, if an emergency, we can tap it and use it. If we want to transition to Lake Michigan water, which eventually we will, like when a well fails or the treatment system fails, we will then work with the Water Commission to transition. This is our only system not on Lake Michigan water, and eventually it will go there, but we did not want to leave these residents in a lurch because the past experience showed us, listen, we could be at issue here if we have to take it back down or something. So that's the purpose of it, is to go through the process. I've been through 5 allocation hearings for our other systems back in the 2008, 10. They are extensive, they are long, and I would rather take the time now when we don't need it, and it will probably take a good year and a half to get it. But this law firm will help us achieve that, and then we can make the decision at some point. I mean, we will go to Lake Michigan Water permanently, but it's kind of weird. The residents love the water up there. They love the quality of it, everything. So until we're faced with a large capital expenditure, we will likely stay where we're at and then move to Lake Michigan.
Yeah, it just seems weird. We get an allocation for,
Yeah,
so can I charge you again for joining the commission because you don't have an
you
allocation?
could. So, I mean, it really brought to light, there are weird oddities with the Lake Michigan allocation process that it's strange. We've learned a lot on this one, but this will protect the residents, substantially from not having water service at a future date.
And that's the state, it's not. the
It's a state.
water.
There's
not
nothing-
us.
I mean, I will tell you, working with the Water Commission has been tremendous for doing all that. This is purely the IDNR with the Lake Michigan allocation because they have an agreement through court orders with all of the other Lake Michigan states around it. And so this is a process and it is law.
Thank you.
Sorry, did you still have questions?
Answered.
Answer? Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve 24-2922 recommendation for the approval of agreement with how do you say this? Lucas, Brady, Garner, and Armstrong to provide legal services as a special assistant state's attorney to assist in phase 2 rezoning for the DuPage County campus for facilities management for the period of November 12th, 2024 through November 30th, 2026 for an amount not to exceed $29,500. A motion?
Second.
Second?
Casino.
Question?
Can I do a little bit of explanation on this? Is that
Sure. You
possible?
want to do the explanation first and then if
All
your
right,
question is
it's up to you.
answered?
For
Well,
a
my
casino.
question is broad. We're not expecting a whole lot of issues with this.
So if you recall, we were extremely successful with this law firm and more importantly, Paul Haas. They teamed together to help us work with the city of Wheaton. And we were able to achieve that was just approved. Now, this is our second part with Winfield. If you know, back on the other side, there's a sliver of so we wanted to get, 90% or 80, probably 80% of our campus is Wheaton. We were very successful accomplishing that. That set kind of the roadmap how to do it. Now this is Winfield.
And I am very happy about this, because Nick and I had talked about this years ago.
It's a long process and
Yep.
I would like to say, Paul Haas has been
Yep.
tremendous with his knowledge and helping and working with this law firm. It's been a great pair and they've done a good job with Wheaton. We want to just transition it to Winfield.
Great. Any other questions on this? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to sole source, I make a motion to approve PWP 002924 recommendation for the approval of contract to Metro Tank and Pipe Company to furnish and retrofit the Public Works Fuel Station gas boy submersible pump for the diesel tank for Public Works for the period of November 12th, 2024 to June 30th, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $37,115. Second, motion is second. Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve FMP 004124, recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order to Midwest Applied Solutions, Inc. to provide ionization 2 parts for the HVAC clean air systems at the judicial office facility and annex for facilities management for the period of November 13th, 2024 through November 12th, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $45,660. Motion?
Second.
Second? Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under action item, I make a motion to approve FMCO 000224 amendment to resolution FMP 021722 issued to the village of Glendale Heights on behalf of the 18th Judicial Court Circuit for the lease of property for use as courtroom facilities for facilities management for a change order to change the contract expiration date of November 30th, 2025 to March 12th, 2025, and decrease the contract amount by $75,250, taking the original contract amount of $245,708, resulting in amended contract amount not to exceed $170,458, a decrease of 30.63%. Did you want to discuss this at all?
I can.
Was there a second?
Oh, is there a second?
So this was, the direction came from the chief judge to, close our final remote traffic court in Glendale Heights. We have pulled the other ones into our building. This will be the last and final one that will be closed and brought into the building. That is her jurisdiction as chief judge to make that call. I know that she met with, along with our state attorney, met with all of the users of that facility, and we're bringing it back in. And then this is simply the lease. That is our portion of the agreement. We manage, facilities management manages the lease with Glendale Heights. And clearly, since we're eliminating it, we are pulling that back, so that will reduce it accordingly.
I'm gonna start.
My comment is, it's about time. I remember we're having this discussion, like before COVID. We've been talking about this for years, literally years. So, yay, I'm glad that everything's
Yeah,
back in-house.
If everybody, the ones that were here, at the beginning of COVID, if you remember, we built the new traffic court to accommodate this if it got here. The question was, traffic wise, could it handle it? And that's what, it's kind of been a test case moving forward. Can it handle the traffic? I mean, we have the facility built for it, and now we're gonna be bringing them in.
And I think that will be open January 2nd around.
What is the date that they're?
I believe it is January 2nd,
January
correct?
2nd? Okay. Okay. All those in favor of this?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Sure.
Okay, I want to make a motion to receive and place on file the informational DC-CO000224 recommendation for the approval of an amendment to
Second.
purchase order 6693-001, sir, issued to Excella Inc. to extend subscription service for Velocima software. Saying it Italian way. Integration between Excella online permitting software and Bluebeam plan review software through June 22nd, 2025, and to increase the contract amount for building and zoning for all those amounts. Have a second?
I did.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is received and placed on file. Okay, moving on to our discussion, Heritage Gallery survey results. Jeff, did you want to run this? Okay.
Jeff has done a tremendous amount of work
Yes.
on this one. He is the expert, our resident expert on this.
Hopefully all of you got your survey results in. So I think a lot.
It was for the committee only? Was this only the committee that did it, or was this the entire county board that was asked?
It was
to do
Entire county board.
It was sent to
it?
the
7
full,
people did?
correct.
I tried to do it more than once, but it cut me off.
How many people did it?
So
Seven.
we sent it out October 16th. Yeah, it was due the 30th and we had 7 respondents.
Are you sure that the thing worked, the
As far as
Oh,
I
yeah.
know,
monkey or whatever it was worked?
Yeah, I
I
know.
think so. We had 4
Wow.
the first week and then by the end of the due date, we had 7. So
I
definitely.
tried to go back in and do it again.
And I attended,
Shocking.
Never heard that.
I attended the meeting, gave my input.
That doesn't count as a document.
Doesn't count.
Oh, it doesn't count?
Goes through the survey, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
So I can walk
Anyways.
us through kind of the results we got. I'll tell you how I set up the display here. So on each page, you'll see the 7 votes to the right on the charts. Most of them were rankings. So under number 1, that's how everybody, out of the 7 votes, 6 voted for history of DuPage County, 1 voted for other, and that's kind of how every slide works here. Survey Monkey then kind of computes the average ranking for each result, and that's how I do the 1, 2, 3 on the left. And then just for reference, if there were other comments, I put them in the bullet points below, just so we have a record of them. So just running through for the first question, the overarching purpose of the space, pretty heavily just history of DuPage County, secondary Hall of Fame. Question 2, should there be any seating in the design? This was mostly a yes, no, and it was pretty clearly no, exhibits only. I think if there's other space in the area, we could address the seating, but that would be outside the scope of the designer. They can just focus on the exhibit areas. Question 3, desired audience. This was a little more spread out, but the top 2 were typical building visitors doing business in 421 and groups of people who are here for public meetings, especially on Tuesdays. Um, Question 4, what events do you believe these visitors will find most engaging, memorable, and what aspects will they find most relevant? The way it ranked out was a timeline display of DuPage County was kind of the favorite, with a secondary of the people who have been a part of that timeline, which I don't think is totally exclusive.
I was gonna say, I
they
think
kind
they're
of
almost
together.
equal, yeah.
Key takeaways we'd like the visitors to walk away with. Number 1, again, was information on how and where DuPage history evolved, and secondary, the people who contributed to DuPage history, including movements in public service.
I see there's a lot of combination of 2, 1 and 2, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, for the other counts.
Mhm.
How should Taylor Studios divide the historical chunks in the exhibits? And we've discussed this before, a combination of static and split digital displays depending on the appropriate content. And the final question of the survey was, how do you feel about the appearance of the open frame metal kiosk structures they had shown? It's mostly not in favor of those structures, so I think we'll see if Taylor can come up with an alternate design. I'll switch over to the questionnaire we'll send back here. I'll send them this entire presentation also, so they have record of all the comments as they do their design as well.
Okay,
But
great.
I thought it'd be best if we go back to the Word document and.
I'm just wondering, should we redo this survey? Only 7 out of 18 responded.
We can keep redoing it, and it's just gonna put off doing any changes
Well,
to the
maybe
heritage.
some
Code.
members like member Chaplin thought that her in-person input was.
Were you different with any of the results that we got?
Probably not.
No,
All right.
I
We
think
can
that
send
we,
it to her. She can get it to us at the December meeting if we.
Well, I can't do my input, so
No, I'm just teasing.
I kind of.
Okay, never mind, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
in the-
I did,
I am
Michelle
too.
did send out
I
several
am
notices.
too.
Yeah, she did.
But I think that actually the answers we got were the majority of information we were getting at the meeting. I think that it reflected what we were getting. So I think it's just the same. I think that we've given them a better track to go down now, I think, Taylor Studios. So I'm interested to see now that they know exactly where our priorities are and where they aren't, where we're gonna go. So what are the next steps, Jeff?
So I went back to the questionnaire they'd sent us, which you can see on the screen here. The gray highlights are kind of the survey results, just as displayed. I did start adding a little flavor text, if you will, under a couple of them to kind of give a little additional guidance, and that's kind of what we're here for right now. If there's anything else we want them to see as a committee on this sheet right now, it's our chance to add a few more details to it. So again, question 1 was the same. 2 for the seating, as I said, the county, facilities may add seating to the space if, exhibits only a certain portion of it, but we won't expect Taylor Studios to account for that at this time.
I think I was in favor of like, if there was a bench in front of one of the designs or something, that would be
And
fine.
I said that 2 benches along the windows, so they're out of the way of the exhibit, but there is some seating there.
Right.
But I think that, to save money, we don't need Taylor to do that.
Exactly.
We can do that in-house ourselves.
I would agree.
So I think question 2 reflects that here and then. Question 3, the audience.
Yeah, I think that's-
Question 4 is where we start getting into the timeline and the secondary emphasis on people. If the timeline's a static display, maybe that focuses on more hard facts like the geologic history, political history, boundaries of the county. And the adjacent displays would be the social movements, the people, the heritage of the county, and those would be the more updatable items.
I agree.
Um,
Any other comments on that? No?
No.
Members A?
I did, looking at this and knowing some of our board members, I don't have a lot of faith in Taylor. I mean, you guys met with them. I know member Desart was on there and she is direct and concise with her stuff. This is like going back to step 1, like, what are we doing? I mean, I was kind of taken aback by this,
No.
with this, hey, what do you guys want? It's like, wait a minute, you guys all met. I know our board members and the chair have been pretty direct the whole time. Your opinions haven't changed on what we want.
Member Childers is there also.
Remember Childers, but again, I think we've been pretty, and seeing this back from, it's like, they're not getting it. There's something's not
Well, it's in the
connecting
name,
here.
The Heritage Gallery.
Right.
And they didn't have any heritage in their presentation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we send it to them, we see what happens, but I'm kind of like,
I
oh
think it's
boy.
gonna be
this isn't-
second strike, you're out.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Have we paid them anything yet?
Yeah, that's my question.
To remind the committee, there is a cutoff. You didn't award the full amount, you awarded in a
Right.
ballpark of 2/3. So I understand what you're saying, and we can keep that in mind as we approach that point in time.
Well, you know, you all know this, but this is my baby. I mean, I've been working on this since January 2019. And the problem that our little committee had was that we just didn't have the money. So now that we have a little bit of money, you know, I'm giving my baby to all of you. And so that's why it's disappointing more people didn't take the survey, and that's why I have more thoughts on this, because we've been working on it forever, for years. We just didn't have money to really do anything solid, but I agree with you. Taylor's not doing it for me.
and it just worries me that the rest of the board didn't, because now this committee comes up with something and the majority of the board hasn't done this. They're going, wait a minute, we don't want to spend the money on this. Now all this work we've done, staff's done, is kind of,
But they were given a chance.
I know,
We're
but,
absolutely
but
getting a
at
chance.
some point, we're gonna have to vote on something, and they might go, I'll go no, and then we're all like,
If the answer is that they didn't get a chance to say something, I'd say, yes, you did.
yeah.
And so, I mean, there's only so much we can do. We can't spoon feed, quite honestly, to the board. I'm willing to give Taylor another go at this since they have a little bit better, indication of exactly what we're looking at. I'm hoping what they come back is a lot better. So then the next step will be they'll be coming back with a new.
So yeah, once they come back with a revised design, we'll send that out to everybody for review. We'll figure out if we need another special call or if they can just jump in during old business like this, so we can have an open meeting to discuss it. After that, we would have to decide if, do we still have a focus group plan for this and a public survey and how we want to structure that. So there will be additional feedback, especially once we dive into the actual content. And then we will, after that, we would vote on whether to proceed to design development, which is even more detailed, who's in the exhibit, pieces of the exhibit, that sort of thing. So
Member Childers was first.
We were talking about coming back, but the question for me is, what's that timeline? What does that look like? A week, a month?
I would
6
get,
months from now, we're still here?
yeah, once I get it back to Taylor, I think they'll give me the turnaround timeline. I don't have that offhand right now. I would guess about a month, probably, first meeting in December is probably
No.
pushing it.
I would say you're more like January, February.
Right, yeah.
January.
The board
or February.
members.
Which one is?
All right, until we meet with them, we've got to see
I will
what,
have a meeting with them tomorrow and I'll be sending all this to them and walking them through it. And if I have a timeline, I can put on a date to you. But if I
Yeah,
see
and
anything-
great. And because some committee members might be changing on this committee, so again, we'll have that turnover, so we want to make sure everybody's up to speed, so definitely think we're looking more towards probably February on this, so we want to make sure that everybody's involved and has a say so in it, so. Member Rutledge,
I just think that February is way down the road. Get fast or die seems to be the world we live in, and they've had a stab at this already. I would expect to see something in January for these people.
okay,
That's
I forgot, sorry, did you
I
want to say
did,
something?
yeah. Jeff, I just want to make sure if you're talking to Taylor, that they know that diversity, equity, and inclusion are the things, what?
Nothing, the kids are misbehaving over here.
Oh.
I've been raising my hand and being ignored, so
I'm
I'm trying to.
Are key to this exhibit.
Never said I'm a
Black, LGBTQ, Asian Americans, Eastern Asian Americans, Native Americans. I mean, that is, who came to this county
Right.
and did what. Inclusion is so important in this exhibit, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, Member Galassi, did you have a question? Like a long
I
time
just
ago?
wanted to say, like, in some of these, what type of display do you prefer? Do you want it static or digital? I just hope that there is also kind of the overlying message of cost control, because I'm not really seeing that on here. So like, if whichever is less expensive would be, you know, my response to many of these. I just want to make sure we're not saying, well, because or they're not coming back to us and saying, well, because they said some can be digital, all of a sudden the cost explodes because we're not.
I added that in my survey when I took it.
Yeah, we had discussed that with them. They're gonna look at us additional budget estimates as we move forward and per exhibit too, right? So they'll say the timeline, whatever design they come up with, you know, that's X dollars. Digital displays built out in the middle, that's Y dollars. So even if this gets phased later, like, okay, we can really only afford doing this piece. This is now our priority, we'll do that. And then we'll have it on the shelf for the future if a later board wants to proceed with another piece of it.
And then the digital, also, we have a lot of the equipment already downstairs, right, for the digital with the
We would-
monitors and things
We
like
would work
that?
with IT to, you know,
Okay.
we would procure it.
So that's things that
We
we
do our
can
best,
change
yeah.
in-house. So if it's a lot of the digital, we can change in-house.
I will tell you, the monitor, actually, the purchase of the monitors is very, very cheap now. It's programming the content and designing it, and then having the thought was you'd have a rotation on the digital so that you can keep the exhibit fresh and kind of circulate that.
We'd also talk to staff that we also have GIS as a resource if we want to go to like printed maps, historical data, graphic, that way, you know, maybe we can get assistance, you know, within the county instead of relying on outside sources.
Members.
Also, if you want digital maps, we can do that as well. ESRA has what's called a story map. And it's basically a scrolling, basically web page that dynamically changes pictures and maps itself as you scroll through the story map.
And that's awesome. One of my.
That is great.
But
Underground.
also, if you're looking for old historical maps,
Right.
so I
Wow.
looked this morning and USGS has maps from back from 1890.
Wow.
Fantastic. I think that's what we're looking for.
I would also is take that imagery and geo-reference that into the GIS so you can bring historical maps into the as well. There's a little more cleanup in that way, but there's something that we can do as well with old historical maps. Because a lot of them are scanned and you can just geo-reference them into the lat long that they were down as paper into the computer. So there's a lot of different options in it.
Fantastic. Members A.
Yeah, I just had a request. I know we're talking about time here. I wouldn't have a problem with our work group again, working with Taylor, because the last thing I want to do is come back in February and we're all sitting here shocked again that the work group, you guys put all the time and effort into this, that they came up with a draft before it got presented to all of us and you guys take a look at it. If they're way off again, it's like, okay, well then, yeah, you know what I mean? So that might take some of the time out on that. I mean, if they came up with like a stages, you guys could okay stuff as it goes. I mean, that would be a little quicker and stuff. And that map thing sounds fantastic. I mean, that sounds like a timeline that you could do.
I mean, I can tell you, obviously Taylor's one of the, we've kind of, our thought process would be that the static display, the thing that never changes is like we talked, the geologic, the population growth, the maps of progressing DuPage County, that's something that's timeless, that will always be present. And then all of the digital will be what you talked about. You could rotate, you could have multiple ones, you know, in Black History Month, you could do all kinds of really cool things on the digital and rotate it and keep it fresh. But you have the history of DuPage, which is always going to be relevant for people coming into this building.
We have to mention too, the timeline map as well, so we can plug in dates and times. So even if you want to see migration, say how people came from New York, you know, and came to this area, then we can do travel, because we can map, we got maps of the world. So I mean, we can take that data in and see how people come over from Norwegian or whatever, came to New York, and then New York, came over the years, came into DuPage, and how they suddenly.
Do a map of that.
Do that all the time.
Our children, I know you have to go.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure, point out that when we talk to them, what is non-negotiable in my mind is the content. We cannot lose, the vision that, as Member Desar said, it hit the rich history and culture of this county. And it cannot be lost in that conversation, no matter whether we talk digital, whatever. That's how pretty it is fine, but the content of that display has to be what is the rich culture and history of this town.
Great, any other discussion on this? Okay, I think you've got your, path forward, right?
Sign it on, yep.
Perfect. Any old business today? Any new business? Okay, without objection, we're adjourned.